In reality, I feel that it's better to frame this settling instead of to receive a teaching, to prepare ourselves and prepare the ground for exploration together. It's not that we're doing something specific. It's just that we kind of like bring ourselves to be present. Sometimes we may feel that the mind is too scattered to bring attention to whatever is offered, and the only thing that we do is just relaxing. As I said, mindfulness um, is not about improving of reality, of improving of the present moment. Mindfulness in reality is a direct contact with the present, with presence itself. Today, I would like to explore with you everything that is happening right now. I see it as a beautiful opportunity to really um, put this practice into reality. Sometimes we may feel that this practice is theoretically, or sometimes we see it as something that we do in a formal way where we sit alone or we sit together or we dedicate part of our time to explore something, a subject. For me, it's about every time that we do any formal practice together or alone, I like it to bring it to life, to reality, and see how the practice is sustained or not into reality. The idea is that everything that is going on has to be able to be proven that this practice can in some way survive or merge with what we live in. I think the moments that we live in right now have a lot of similarities with when we sit and meditate, when we are together and start to explore our minds. Every time that we sit to meditate, we start to explore the landscape of our minds. Sometimes we feel that the landscape of our minds is too busy. Sometimes we feel that the landscape of our minds, the content of our mind, doesn't follow the narrative that we portray ourselves to be. There is some resistance towards what we discover. And that then is where the real exploration starts to uh, be born, and we can really start to see what is the reality of what we conceive ourselves to be. Sometimes we sit in meditation and thoughts that envy arises. Sometimes we sit in meditations and thoughts of anger or judgment arises. Sometimes we sit in meditation and we see that the content of our mind doesn't fit at all with the narrative of what we see ourselves. Every time that we see the landscape of our mind, we have two choices. We can step away and negate it. Sometimes we try to push it away and forget about this practice at all. Or the second way of exploring this is to really dig into who we are and what we are ourselves. The more that we explore ourselves, we realize that there is something in us that is unmoved. We always exploring this idea of kind of stepping away from the binary mind and seeing more as a quantum mind, a mind that doesn't belong to here or there, right or wrong, this or that. It belongs to nuances, to fluidity, to waves, into how we see ourselves and how we engage to the world. Today, the moments that we live in this country in some way are like our practice of meditation. We as a society in some way have a narrative of being fair, a narrative of being at ease, a narrative of being bringing us all together, a narrative of justice, a narrative of inclusion, a narrative of being giving and forgiving. But when we start to ponder upon how we act and which is the content of our society, the story doesn't match our narratives. And as a result, this narrative creates a resistance. Right now, sometimes when we sit in meditation, we see our resistance by moving, by trying to distract ourselves, by trying to appease the suffering that we feel through, um, I would say, actions, the acquisition of objects, by activities. All these things may cause some um, softening of what we're feeling as a restriction, but in reality is very, very momentarily. Or we have other choice when we see our suffering, which is to draw in, to ponder upon how we create the suffering and being able to hold the question. Right now, in the social events that we live in, is a beautiful opportunity to recreate ourselves and in some way stop this apparent narrative of inclusion, this apparent narrative of justice, this apparent narrative of being separated. This practice is always talking about renunciation. This renunciation is not about giving up through force, but giving up through understanding things that are not needed. Understanding that we are one, and that one is love that get us all together, allow us to really merge ourselves with truth, with peace, and with justice. This is not something naive that
Adrian,
comes from,
Adrian,
yes.
I'm sorry. A number of us are having audio issues. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you for letting me know. No,
And you're very blurry for me. I don't know. I'll shut up now.
can you see me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me better now?
Keep talking.
Hi, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, let me know if it goes back to blurriness. Okay, so the idea of this practice coming to life is an important one, because I want you to really start to explore with all of you together what does it mean to bring this practice to life. We always talk about this pretend idea of ourselves as an identity, yeah? This identity that we take over, that separated, this idea that we are the body and then everything else is out there. As a society also, this idea of identity has consequences, and that consequences is ignorance. not because we are stupid, it's because we're ignoring the reality that we are one. That is much more what makes us something that we are together as a human fabric, as part of nature, than what we go out there and pretend to be. So today I would like to invite you to come to a place of rest where you can open not only your mind, also your heart, and explore this issue of how this practice has any correlation with what is happening right now, and how in some way through our actions can be um, a vehicle of change. So I invite you to take your seat. And if you cannot hear me, just let me know. As I said before, mindfulness is not an improvement of reality, but is a direct contact to it. You may choose to close your eyes or leave them softly open. And in some way, when we meditate, we bring this idea, this intention of investigation. What I mean by that is that we're not trying to get rid of anything. We're not trying to change anything. We don't trying to improve what are we experiencing. This, for some of us, may feel that we're giving up, but in reality, what we're doing is renunciating to this idea that this moment needs to be improved. We're starting to develop this keen eye to understand how we create reality. Every time, every experience is already here and is already accepted by awareness as an expression of you. Right now, you seated on your chair or your cushion, and you are aware. You are aware of thoughts or thinking, to be more precise, arising and falling away. You are aware of feelings or sensing in the body as an expression of what we call the body, where there is no lines and there is no limits of your skin. Sensing arises and falls away. Also, you are aware of the world through perceptions. And what I mean by that is that you can hear my voice, hopefully now. You can hear probably the birds in the background, or you can hear sounds in your room. You can taste your breakfast. You can smell the room. So this aware presence is in some way the substance of your thinking, your sensing and feeling, and your perceiving. All this movie of thinking, perceiving, and sensing is going through the screen of awareness presence. This presence in reality is the substance of experience. If you really start to investigate, you and every of us lace every experience with an image of me. We can imagine our body, we can imagine our personalities being the agent of what we're experiencing. But experiencing comes without labels. And I'm just not offering this to take my word for it, just to experience how whatever you are thinking, sensing, or perceiving is labeled by the mind. And what happened when that label is softened. I invite you to, for this sitting, to imagine that I we're going together to a movie theater of experience. In this movie theater, we sit down like you're sitting down right now, but we kind of make the agreement that we're not going to be watching at the movie. We make the agreement that we'll be watching at the screen. Of course, we will see the movie of characters arising, having stories, having triumphs, and having also defeat. But we're just going to concentrate on the screen that in reality is not behind these images, is what it makes these images. Just bring your awareness into awareness itself, which is the substance of your thoughts, your feelings and sensations, and your perceptions too. Whatever you are experiencing right now, you're not responsible for it. There is no you that decides when you're gonna feel something, or when you're gonna think something, or when you're gonna feel something. So you have no responsibility what is arising on the field of awareness. Even if you have a sense of irritation, or a sense of calm, or a sense of thinking about the future or the past, you have no responsibility towards what is appearing. So in some way, there is nobody to be good or be bad at meditating, since meditation is what you are, not what you do. It is your essence. And before I leave you in silence, you may like to offer to your attention the breath. I'm just trying to bring the breath through the nostrils. In some way, the breath is the first sense that is being developed in humans. The breath has in some way connect us, bringing this apparent outside in, and then returning this inside out. Bring a sense of peace and being at ease. You may choose to increase the duration of the in-breath and the out-breath, if this feels good to you, or you may also choose to just have the breath being as it is. Sometimes each moment presents us with the reality. And the majority of the times, instead of connecting with that reality, we connect with our likes and dislikes, watching or in some way revealing and this idea of concentrating on the screen itself allow us the freedom to connect with experience itself without the need to put labels and without the need to shift anything. We're able to hold this presence, which is what we are. This formal practice, what it really does is like inviting us to have a taste of our true nature. The true nature is away from the landscape of thoughts, feeling, and perceptions. The true nature is our presence, which is this presence that is the substance of everything that we experience. And experiencing is all there is. And when we get in touch with this essence in the silence of meditation, we realize that this presence, nature, is peace, love, and happiness. This presence cannot be taken away from us, since it's the substance of reality itself. From this presence, we come as an expression to this sacred outrage, this sacred outrage that this moment call upon. And the investigation is how we respond to this outrage through understanding. How do we respond uh, through this outrage through presence? The substance of this outrage is love, and that love is the end of ignorance. We have three choices in life: to be someone, to be nothing, or to be everything. The first one is an expression of suffering and ignorance. The second one, to be nothing, is an expression of peace. And the third one, to be everything, an expression of love. Just continuing to this practice, we're going to transition into a mindful walk, and I will sound the sound bell when it's time to come back. And just take your time to walk at the pace of your own wisdom, bringing a sense of ease and a sense of exploration. And the invitation today is also to kind of starting to drop a little bit labels when you walk, and just have a sense for the body walking one step at a time.